on the movie channel. Thank you.
Got an old favorite on drive-in theater tonight. Malibu Express. 2 hours of Playboy playmates flopping around all over the place. They take a lot of showers, giggle a lot. 72 breasts, including a couple on a girl named June Knockers that ought to count double every time she jumps out of her jumpsuit. This movie is becoming kind of a legend around here. The reason we show it so much is you guys keep writing in and saying, I want to see that Malibu Express deal again. You know, the one where the helicopter chases the Winnebago, that thing. And so we're showing it again. You know, and one thing I never have figured out is what the helicopter was going to do if it actually caught the Winnebago. But before we go over to the drive-in news desk, I wanted to tell you about this new game that I made up called What If Freddy Krueger Went to Brigitte Nielsen's House? And the way you play this game is you think of a person somewhere in the world who needs a visit from Freddy Krueger, like Brigitte Nielsen. And then you concentrate real hard until Freddy's fingernails start to turn into 8-inch knives, and he stands in the basement of Brigitte Nielsen's house, and then he grins and he says, how about a little hiney tattoo? And if we all dream the same thing at the same time, like in the movies, then Brigitte will wake up the next morning with several of her body parts missing. You know, I was about to say Freddy could destroy her brain, but that would be redundant. Anyhow, try that out on your friends. It's a fun game. All right, drive-in news. Many people wonder how we get so many drive-in news items every week, you know, and it's because we have a drive-in news staff collecting them from all around the world. We don't skimp on this a bit. So, what have we got today? All right, Food of the Gods 2 is out. It took them 13 years to make the sequel, but they scaled this one down. Instead of all the giant wasps and worms and chickens and rats rampaging through the countryside, all this flick has is giant laboratory rats. So you see they're taking off on the animal rights thing. You know, the director, Damien Lee, he thought he could get more impact by concentrating on the agony of one species, so he has these giant drug-crazed rats. You know, I hadn't seen it, but it sounds pretty good to me. All right, Deathstalker 3 is out. It's called Deathstalker and the Warriors from Hell. You know, these pictures never get the credit they deserve. Remember the scene in part 1 where this male warrior gets zapped by the wizard and he turns into a Playboy playmate before your very eyes? He has these horrible chest pains and he's writhing around like this and he starts screaming. Great scene. And then Monique Gabrielle in Deathstalker 2, remember her? She was that very sexy, evil Amazon lady. She was also the good princess in a dual role. Well, now they've made number 3, and this one has John Allen Nelson as the Deathstalker in another. It's an Indiana Jones rip-off plot. They all are. Made it down in Mexico, and I'll be sure to be seeing it, and you should check it out too. Now, I'm running out of time, but I want to mention 2 more flicks that you need to check out this summer. There's going to be several skinhead pictures, and the first one out is Deadly Breed, starring William Smith as the bad guy. And the other one you need to watch for is Gatorbait 2. They finally made that sequel after 16 years. Same people that made the original 1973 Gatorbait, starring Claudia Jennings. Remember that? Jan McKenzie, this time, is the Cajun gal, taking revenge on the redneck creepolas from the swamp. And that's it for Drive-In News. We're going to run Malibu Express now, starring the great Chuck Norris lookalike, Darby Hinton, who hangs around on his yacht and fights off girls until it's time to get in his DeLorean and solve a murder case. And you'll notice he keeps solving the same murder case over and over and over again, actually, so that the director, my buddy Andy Sidaris, can make the movie last longer and he can manipulate more Playboy playmates into ripping off their blouses. Andy has your interests at heart. So watch for the very special performance by Miss Overdrive. As we used to say, she's got more gears than a Mack truck. And then stick around after it's over and we'll be naming the drive-in queen for the day. Sybil, but the reason that she was the only girl in that movie who did not get naked is that she has real steep rates to take off her blouse. Costs $25,000, and Andy Sidaris, the director, says that's what, $12,500 per breast, and he couldn't justify it in the budget, especially when he had June Knockers working overtime in that movie. All right, in that same vein, it's time again for our popular feature, the naming of the drive-in queen for a day. You know, many of you that send in your photos and your drive-in fantasies trying to be the drive-in queen for a day, you ask, what is that special element that makes the difference between just a pretty face or just a slutty fantasy and the perfection of a drive-in queen? Well, fortunately, I don't have to face that problem alone. Helping me out is probably the foremost authority on the American female, a man who has been with 487,000 women in his lifetime. Of course, you know who I'm talking about, Chub Frick. Chub is a personal friend of mine who reviews each application and rates it for sex appeal. So it's not only my decision, but enough about rules. You're waiting for our queen, and we have a special one tonight. Our drive-in queen for the day is Wendy Haber of West Somerville, Massachusetts. And I think we'd all agree that Wendy has what you'd call your bedroom eyes. In fact, in my opinion, she has bedroom elbows, too. We kind of clipped off her elbow there, but believe me, she has bedroom elbows. And Wendy says her fantasy is to be the only woman in the front row wearing this gown at a Bon Jovi concert. So you can see the girl aspires to an education. So congratulations, Wendy, and you'll be receiving a sack full of Movie Channel t-shirts and other junk from us for being a good sport. And you will also compete now against girls with much trashier fantasies, so you might want to work on that. All those girls are candidates for the 1989 Drive-In Theater Queen. Now, if you want to request any movies or be the Drive-In Queen for a day, get a free copy of the Joe Bob Briggs newsletter. We don't have time for mail tonight. I'm getting sick of this. Every week we're supposed to do mail. We don't do mail. They're cutting my time. I can't do anything about it. But write to the Movie Channel mailbox, P.O. Box 1264, Radio City Station, New York, New York, 10101, and I will get back to you. I want to say hi to my buddy, The Lobster. That's his name, The Lobster, on KRQR Radio, The Rocker in San Francisco, and I'm on the radio with The Lobster doing drive-in movie reviews Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings, so check us out. Now, the flick next week is Maniac Cop, Jason with a Badge. You will enjoy it. And just for good measure, let's take one more look at tonight's drive-in queen. I liked her, Wendy Haber of West Somerville, Massachusetts. Look at Wendy's expression now. She's saying, please pour mud all over me and treat me like a soybean field. Don't you think so? Love those Yankee women. This is Joe Bob Briggs reminding you that the drive-in will never die.
The Movie Channel.